Hello, I'm Adriana Guerrero. Welcome to this language documentation project called Supporting Linguistic Development, a Cross-Linguistic Approach. I hope that you enjoy this presentation. Okay, here's the overview of this video. First, we're going to go over the introduction, which includes a video and a little bit of information of the student that we work with to complete this project. Then I will talk about the objectives. I will present the evidence and the examples. We're going to analyze those sample data. Then we'll talk about the action plan. Uh, I will present my conclusions and I will include as a part of another slide the references. Let's get started. And in the next slide, I will not talk. It'll be just about a video. It's a very fun video. I hope that you enjoy it and that you can make the connections between how learning English is a very challenging.
Hey, aren't we all in the same English course?
Oh yeah, how's it going?
Not bad, except I sometimes have trouble with my grammar, isn't it? I mean, sometimes I'm perfect, but other times I don't, won't they?
See, I'm all right with my grandma. My problem is spelling. I can't spell to save my loaf.
Yeah?
Yeah. Have to rely on the spell chalk on my computer.
Well, look at it this way. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't eat it too. You know what I'm saying?
No, not really.
Oh, I think that she sometimes has trouble mixing metaphors, aren't she?
Yeah. Sorry, you guys. I'm always crying over spilled chickens before they're hatched.
It's all right for you all. I've got a very small vocabulary.
What's that like?
It's all right for you all. I've got a very small vocabulary.
That's okay. I have problems with my emphasis.
Your emphasis?
Yes, my emphasis on different parts of the sentences. In my job, that can cause a lot of awkwardness.
What do you do?
I'm a speech therapist.
A peach therapist that can't spike properly. Surprised your boss hasn't sucked you.
It's all right for you all. I've got a very small vocabulary.
Can I make a suggestion? Why don't you purchase a dictionary? You'll save yourself a lot of embarrassment.
I tell you what, why doesn't we all try studying together, isn't it? How doesn't next week sound, didn't we?
Great idea.
Fabulous.
Yeah, you give him an inch, it's worth two in the bush.
It's all right for you all. I've got...
Shut up, isn't it?
I hope that you have enjoyed the video in the same way that I did. It's just a perfect video for this presentation. It's showing how learning English is very challenging. It's not easy. We gotta learn vocabulary. We gotta learn how to pronunciate different words. We can learn about grammar, semantics, grammatics. It's a lot. And I love how the video is presented in a very, very funny way. I decided to also include this quote that says, learning another language is not only learning different words for the same things, but learning another way to think about things. This is from Flora Lewis. And I think that this quote represents uh, why it's very important that we understand that when we are learning another or second language, we are teaching our brain to think in a different way. It's not just learning a second language, learning a new vocabulary, learning a new grammar. We are developing a new skill, which is thinking about new things. Okay, so this course has been very interesting, and for this project, I decided to work with a student that is named Andre Guerrero. He's 5 years old. He just finished pre-kinder or pre-K, and he is going to be entering kindergarten for next school year. His first language is Spanish or native language, and he is learning English as a second language. When he was in pre-kinder, he was taught to read in Spanish. He reads in Spanish. We'll say at level maybe 1 or 2. He has a very limited English literacy. He was exposed to some maybe phonics or a little bit of math, English math, or math in English, but and also he was exposed to all the classroom routines in English. And he's been exposed to the language since he was maybe in, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years, because he was part of the daycare. Okay. However, he was not being taught English language arts per se. Okay. And when we for this project, we are going to focus on different levels of language with Andre. We're gonna focus on phonetics or phonology, morphology, syntaxis, semantics, and grammatics. And in the next slide, I will talk about the objectives, but I want to focus here or explain here in how all these level of language are going to be analyzed and are going to be integrated with all of this interlanguage transfer baggage and all these different cross-linguistic connections that we as a second language learners use when we are learning a second language. Okay, here are the project objectives. The first one is we're going to compare Andres' performance in the interview and in the reading video. We have two data samples and we're going to compare both, and we'll look for any strengths and areas of growth. We're going to try to identify those and compare them. Then the second objective is by using the different levels of language as phonetics, phonology, morphology, syntax, pragmatics, we're going to compare those samples and try to understand them. Then we can apply bilingual and cross-linguistic pedagogies to guide instruction in the classroom. In this case, when he is in kindergarten, right? And then we're going to create an action plan that recommends different strategies using interlanguage transfer, translanguaging, and a cross-linguistic pedagogies that will help him to develop this English second language, right? And in the next two slides, I will not talk. It'll be Andre's different samples. The first one will be the interview, and as he is talking during the interview, you will see the transcript next to it. Same for the reading video. He's going to be reading, and you're gonna see next to that reading video the different transcript with Andres' performance. I hope that you enjoy them, and I hope that those different samples can show how Andres has different strengths and different areas of growth in his journey of learning a second language. Hello, how are you?
I'm good.
Okay, I want you to tell me your name.
Andre Guerrero.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a question, and I want you to respond to that question using as many details as you can.
Okay.
Okay, so the question is, can you tell me about your favorite thing to do at home?
My favorite thing is play with my toys and go to the swimming pool.
Okay, why those are your favorite things to do?
Because I love swimming and I love playing with my friends.
Okay, and what is your favorite thing to do at school?
My favorite thing to go to at school it's go to the gym.
Why?
Because we use basketballs and we play and then that's why it's my favorite thing.
Can you tell me more details about why, what do you like about that activity?
Those activities?
Mm-hmm.
Those activities are my favorites because I like playing with my friends, and when I see my friends, look, I love them watching A too, but I love being so nice and playing with all my friends.
Tell me more.
The gym is the favorite of my life because my friends always come some days and at the gym, and I always play with them when I'm in the gym.
Okay. And what about swimming?
Swimming is my favorite because my brother Alex have it he do me classes of swimming so I can know swimming. So that's why I love the pool.
So you cannot swim?
No, not yet because uh I need to learn how to swim, but it's because my brother Alex is learning me. That's why.
Okay. Well, anything else that you want to add to my interview, to this interview?
No.
Okay, well, thank you, Andrew. Say bye.
Bye. Biscuit went for a walk. Tim for walk. Biscuit. Rolf. Wolf. Wolf. East. Teams for a walk. To Grand Pass owns. I'm going. Oh, wait for this. Let go. Ralph, Ralph. Teams for a walk. Biscuit, Ralph, Ralph. Biscuit wants to dig. Hizo un hoyo. Qué gracioso. Team for a walk. Biscuit, Ralph, Ralph. Biscuit one story. Biscuit one story. Yep. Fin pimpy east sit for a walk to grand no the ocean go yeah.
Okay, it was very interesting to watch those videos, right? For me, it was the perfect way to apply all the different concepts that we have learned through this course. So I decided to include a comparative language 1 and language 2 analysis before we go deeper into all the different level areas of Andres' performance. Um, and I want to compare both languages by using all the different concepts that we have learned. So, for example, we were able to see in Andres' samples evidence of a transfer baggage. How? When he was, for example, talking about how his brother is teaching him swimming classes, right? I remember that he said, yes, my brother, he do me classes. So he was lacking of any auxiliary verbs. We didn't see any subject verb agreement, right? He was just using it in the way that he uses in Spanish. Like, for example, in Spanish, he was using that grammatical structures of Spanish of his first language, thinking, sí, él me da clases, right? Él me da clases de natación. He do me classes, right? And it was clear to see that transfer or transferring happening into his expression. And what is transfer baggage? According to Monty Lieberman, um, he said that transfer baggage is when an individual that is learning a second language applies all the grammatical structures of that first language into the second language. Uh, I really like, and I will always remember how Mati mentioned that it was like caramel, right? It's super sticky, and it's exactly the same. That first language, those grammatical structures of that first language are super sticky and are always going to be there when we are trying to learn a second language, as Andre's case, right? We were also able to see some interlanguage. Okay, but what is interlanguage? According to Larry Selinker in 1967, um, interlanguage is a system that lies between the learner's first language and the language that is being learned. It was very easy to see it in Andrew's performance as well, because he was overgeneralized, like he was using a lot of overgeneralizations of his first language into language two. So, for example, when he said, my favorite thing to go to a school is go to the gym, right? Exactly the same phrasing structure in Spanish. In Spanish, we can say, la cosa, mi cosa favorita, okay, es ir a la escuela, ir al gimnasio. We don't do it in English. We don't do it in the same way in English, right? And then I decided to include some different examples for uh, the phonological um, transferring, or the morphosyntactic transfer, some different areas of improvement. Or just like I just mentioned, the syntaxis transfer, right? Um, he was just pulling from his first language to express his ideas into the second language, right? So, for example, the example that I already used when he do me classes, that more for syntaxis error, okay, and these take us to those cross linguistic connections, right? That he was using. Um, we'll see that is so natural, and this process is very natural, right? It's not concerning for any kind of like any area of language too. Is not concerning because Andre is just transferring through interlanguage and cross-linguistic connections what he knows from that first language into the second language. Okay, I decided to explain that is not that Andre is struggling a lot, right? It's just a natural process, and that's something very important for me because as an educator, I need to understand that is a normal process. It's just part of that linguistic development that a second language learner has to go through. Okay, and I will include another example here. For example, when Andre was making those cross linguistic connections, and he was making that code switch when he was reading in English, and when he mentioned, "Oh, hizo un hoyo, qué chistoso," right? And he was very spontaneous. He was just saying it because he was thinking in Spanish and he was reading in English. So that's why I think that is so beautiful to see those different cross linguistic connections and how It's so normal to pull from our first language into the second language. So in the next slide, let's go and analyze in depth how all the different language structures we're using in Andres' performance. Perfect. Now let's go deeper into analyzing all the different linguistic areas in Andres' performance. So here is a comparative linguistic analysis that includes all the different areas of phonetics and phonology, morphology, syntaxis, semantics, and pragmatics. So let's start with phonetics and phonology. Andrew struggles with consonant clusters, final consonants, and vowel clarity. Okay, he is very likely influenced by Spanish phonology. For example, when he was reading, how when he was reading and when he was explaining his ideas during the interview, he was using a lot of like um um and. So he was using those filters to really connect his ideas and express them in English. And then he was showing a lot of mispronunciations and substitutions. For example, pimpy instead of puppy. Another one that I did not include here was the time. He was reading time or team. A very influenced he was very influenced by Spanish. Okay. Then for the for morphology, he needs more support with verb endings, plurals, and articles in Spanish. For example, with the verb, tense, agreement, errors. As I just mentioned previously in the video, he was saying he do me classes or biscuit want to roll. Okay, he was dropping some articles or function words, as for example, let go for let's go. That was morphology. Then in syntaxis, he needs explicit modeling of sentence construction and function of use, right? For example, he was using run-ons and reordered syntax, right? He said, my favorite thing to go to at school is go to the gym. Okay. He was not building or reading the whole sentence. He was doing fragmented sentences as time for walk. No, it's time for a walk. So we saw a lot of areas of improvement in the syntax part. Okay. He shows growth because I need to say this. He was not taught to read in English. He was just pulling from his knowledge of reading in Spanish and applying into reading in English. Now let's go to semantics. In semantics, he needs targeted tier 1 and tier 2 vocabulary development. So we saw some occasional semantic mismatches as story instead of role because he didn't know how to read it. He was not exposed to the word, maybe. And he also presented some substitute of code switches when unsure, right? He was just code switching because he was not sure what was going on. So he was switching between English and Spanish, right? So he was using Spanish again to really express his ideas or the concept that he had in his brain in English. And then the last one was pragmatics. And in pragmatics, he requires modeling of clarification, elaboration, and reading with expression, which is okay because he has not been exposed to reading in English. So, for example, he needs prompting to expand answers, uh, in the way that are more organized, and he doesn't yet self really guide himself when he is reading, right? He will benefit from that explicit modeling and clarification when reading, when he is reading. Okay. Okay, perfect. So what can we do to support Andrew's linguistic development? So here is an action plan that includes phonetics and phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, and pragmatics. Again, we need to remember that Andre is an emergent kindergarten student. He has not been taught to any language arts or English language arts. However, he is being exposed to the language, but he has not learned anything that will guide him into how to write, how to read, how to um, learn this new vocabulary. So everything is going to be new for him. But I feel like even though he has not been taught, he has really good foundations. So let's read this action plan. The first one, uh, area, phonetics and phonology. We need to improve the clarity and production of English sounds. We need to use songs, chants, rhymes with target sounds and rhythm. We need to play minimal pair games, right? Those minimal pair words are very useful and will be very useful for him. For example, beat versus pit for discrimination. And we can also use some Elconian boxes to practice the coding, okay, with some visual supports. Those are really good for the students. So this is something that we can do in phonetics and phonology. In morphology, we need to strengthen English grammar used. For example, we need to teach subject-verb agreement with visuals and actions. For example, he runs, they play. Very easy for kinder. We need to use sentence status as with a structured choice, as Biscuit wants to. So just practice those sentence status and adding a new word or a new vocabulary that will help him to really learn that grammar or English grammar usage. And we need to embed function word games, as for example, it is a dog or the dog. Okay, so this is for morphology. For syntaxis, we need to build grammatically complete and clear sentences. Okay, we need to practice with oral sentence combination and expression. We need to use story retelling with sentence strips and sequencing cards. And we need to engage in fix the sentence games with model correlations. So all about how to build sentences, how to construct clear sentences. Practicing, practicing, practicing. A lot of interlanguage in the classroom, right? For semantics, we need to expand expressive vocabulary and word recognition. Okay, we need to introduce theme-based vocabulary in English with visuals. For example, animal actions. Okay, maintain a visual vocabulary journal that he has and he can refer to it. Okay, we need to do same and different word sorting to build categories. Example, dig versus roll. So he will be able to learn those new words, those new vocabulary words. And for pragmatics, we need to improve expressive and interactive language use. So many different ways that we can do it with partner reading, okay? Bilingual pairs. Model expressing reading aloud. Small groups. Let's read together, and the teacher can address that as well at home with his family. He can read, and mom or dad can model him how to read with expression. Okay, and we need a prompt, why and how questions to help him to make connections. Okay, so overall, Andrew is a very good bilingual learner because he is just pulling all these very strong um, language one structures into that language, into the second language story. Um, he is very motivated to read, to express his ideas, to talk in English, even though he is not um, required to speak in English every day because Spanish is his first language, and in the school he was in a bilingual classroom where Spanish was mostly spoken. He is very motivated to speak in English, right? Um, he has a very good comprehension, and that indicates a very good potential for growth and for a second language acquisition. So I will say that with a strong support and a very um, strong um, teaching, right, that includes and support cross-linguistic connections, he will be acquiring a second language very easily. Okay, now we're in the last part of this presentation. Here is a conclusion. So, learning a second language is a journey that involves various stepping stones for learners. Cross linguistic pedagogies help students establish explicit connections across different languages of instruction. This raises an important question. What can we, as educators of English learners or English as a second language students, do to promote these cross linguistic connections in the classroom? Additionally, how is the educational system supporting teachers in developing the necessary skills to assist their students through professional development and collaboration? Is there any support that the teachers are receiving from the educational system? I will move to the first question. So, as educators, we need to ensure that we are creating that space that is a safe space for the students to practice with language, either if it's an oral language practice. We are promoting cross-linguistic connections. We are supporting them. We are supporting them in the transfer of that knowledge between language one and language two. We are creating and supporting also translanguaging practices. It is okay if the student is completing a writing piece, and if the student is writing a sentence that includes some vocabulary in its first language, it's fine because that is just showing that that student is trying to make that cross linguistic connection. Okay, we need to support that instead of labeling the students or as, oh, they're always struggling with semantics, or they're always struggling with this pronunciation. They will have these very bad issue and on pronunciating these words. We need to, instead of that, we need to just support them and understand them, and let them know that the struggle is part of the process, and if there is a struggle, they will be learning. So, as an educator, I want to commit myself to um, facilitate and advocate for my emerging bilingual students or my second language students. Okay, so through these project, and after working with Andre and applying all the different concepts, I feel more confident of um, how of supporting my students right in the classroom. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope that we as an educators can still and always support our students and look at them as Just look at their struggles. That's just part of the process. Okay, well, thank you for watching. Bye. Okay, here are the references that I used in this project. And here's the last slide. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.